The slave ship Jesus of Lübeck, often referred to simply as the Jesus, was one of the earliest English ships used in the transatlantic slave trade. Its involvement marks a dark and significant turning point in world history, as England began to take part in the forced transportation and enslavement of millions of Africans. This essay explores the origins of the Jesus, its role in the slave trade under the command of Sir John Hawkins, and its lasting historical legacy. Origins and ownership. The Jesus was originally built in the city of Lübeck, Germany, in the early 16th century. It was a large carrack-style ship, and at one point, it served as part of the Hanseatic League's trading fleet. In the 1540s, King Henry VIII of England purchased the ship to be part of the English Navy. By the 1560s, however, the ship was considered old and no longer fit for frontline naval duties. It was then leased by the English crown to a young and ambitious merchant seaman named Sir John Hawkins, who would become one of the first Englishmen to engage directly in the transatlantic slave trade. Sir John Hawkins and the first English slave voyages. In 1562, Hawkins received backing from wealthy investors, including Queen Elizabeth I herself, to take part in an expedition to West Africa and the Spanish Caribbean. He used the Jesus as his flagship, along with several smaller vessels. His goal was to capture or purchase enslaved Africans and sell them for profit in the New World, particularly in Spanish colonies. Though Spain prohibited foreign traders from entering its markets, Hawkins was able to trade slaves illegally by using force and negotiation. Hawkins's first voyage was considered a success from a commercial standpoint. He captured or acquired over 300 enslaved Africans, transported them across the Atlantic, and sold them in places such as Hispaniola. Emboldened by his profits, Hawkins made 2 more voyages. On the third and final journey in 1567 to 1568, he again used the Jesus as his lead ship. During this final voyage, Hawkins encountered resistance from the Spanish. At the Battle of San Juan de Ulúa, in present-day Mexico, the English fleet was attacked by Spanish forces. The Jesus, old and in disrepair, was heavily damaged during the battle and ultimately abandoned. Hawkins and some of his crew, including a young sailor named Francis Drake, narrowly escaped. The loss of the Jesus marked the end of Hawkins's direct involvement in the slave trade, but his voyages laid the groundwork for what would become a massive and tragic enterprise lasting over 3 centuries. The Jesus holds a disturbing place in history not only because of its name, which starkly contrasts with the brutal purpose it served, but also because it represents the beginning of England's involvement in the Atlantic slave trade. This participation would grow over time and result in the forced migration and suffering of over 12 million Africans. The fact that a ship bearing the name of Jesus Christ was used to enslave human beings is a chilling symbol of the contradictions and moral blindness of the time. Moreover, the voyages of the Jesus and Hawkins were among the first in a long line of expeditions that commodified African people for European economic gain. This helped shape racial ideologies, colonial systems, and global inequalities that persist to this day. The Jesus was more than just a ship, it was a symbol of a tragic chapter in human history. Its voyages under Sir John Hawkins launched England's participation in the transatlantic slave trade, setting into motion a system of violence, exploitation, and racial injustice that would last for centuries. Remembering the story of the Jesus forces us to confront the cruel ironies and moral failures of history, and to reflect on how we can pursue justice and truth in our own time.